Hey, this is Don once again from Padlock Technologies, owner and principal, here to talk about another concept called secure defaults, or just how vendors actually implement solutions. I'm going to use ICE again as an example, and for certain things that you need to look out for. So, the concept of secure defaults is meaning making your default implementation secure, basically, right? Now, unfortunately, vendors do not do secure defaults. In my last video, I talked about implementation of or ease of implementation versus being secure. Vendor is always going to go with ease of implementation. They're never going to go with this is default. This is secured by default. That is up to you to do. And a perfect example of this is Cisco ICE. So Cisco ICE, when you actually install it, comes with a default policy. And that default policy has a few things turned on by default, right? It's supposed to ease the implementation so you can just put ICE in your environment and kind of start securing your network using network access control, right? Problem with that is a lot of people, when they actually implement ICE and they start creating their own policy sets, what ends up happening is they end up using the default policy for a lot of things. And you're going to pop on an audit because in the default policy, all the way down at the bottom, next to the default policy, there is a rule that says basic network access, which gives them a permit access on the network. Now, there's a couple other ones that are turned on by default as well. The problem with this, though, is if you're not careful and anything hits that default policy set, they could potentially get on the network and you don't even know about it because they're hitting the default policy. I've seen a lot of people say, how did this get on the network? And then when I go and look at their default policy, I'm like, well, that's how they got on the network. This authorization profile or policy right here says if this condition, which is a very weak condition and pretty much is like a catch-all, if it matches this condition, permit access. Next thing you know, now you have people using that default policy to get on your network. Now you have a security issue. And if someone uses that to get on your network and they do something malicious, well, it's on you. Cybersecurity is going to say you didn't secure your environment. You didn't practice due care. And we're not paying for this. We're not going to insure you for this event. So what you want to do is if you're somebody that has ICE implemented in your environment right now, you want to make sure that you disable all the authentication policies, basically just hit them and say deny access. And then you want to disable all the authorization policies, every last one of them. And then if you do that, now they're forced to use every policy set above that default policy because you can't use it anymore. That's just a quick tip on why you should not use the defaults for vendors, and you should always have something where your default state is secure, right? If your default state is not secure and you're using the vendor who's using ease of implementation, you're inherently putting a security hole in your network based on them just allowing people to get on. And you don't want to get through that because I've seen cybersecurity issues or insurance just flat out deny claims because, hey, you didn't do proper due care. So once again, this is Don from Padlock Technologies, briefly talking about making sure your default state is secure and to turn off any vendor specific policies or anything that the vendor did because they're worried about ease of implementation. They're not worried about being the most secure. Thank you. Have a nice day.